So you just take your crazy quilt block that you made the other day. I listed that on, I have a tutorial from January 26th. I will put the link below. I've laid them out on my display wall, and I've laid it out with sashin and without sashin to see which way I liked. This is how it looks after I've sewn it together, and this is what we're going to be doing today. And this is after it's completely done, and this is the entire quilt top. Hi there, my name is April Sawtelle and welcome to my channel. Today what we're going to be doing is just sewing these all together and making the rows and finishing this quilt top. Let's get started. What I'm going to do now, take two blocks, put them together, put your right sides together, at whatever angle you want it to be looking at. Just be sure you pull out all of the points here. That's the biggest thing, is not to get them caught up underneath. Line that up. You can either pin it or you can just hold it. I'm just going to hold mine. I'm just going to stick all of my fabric. I know these are square, so the bottom part might have some off the edge here. I'm not following that anymore. Now I'm just going to follow my presser foot. All right, I'm going to follow that at 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to sew all the way down. I'm just connecting the two pieces now. I'm going to start making strips. I'm going to make strips of 7. So there's 2. I'm going to press this in the end. I'll press that all opened in the end to open up that seam. I'm going to press them only in one direction when I do it on the back, but for now I'm just going to pull that open a little bit, finger press it, and I'm going to move right on to another piece here. The biggest thing you just want to do is make sure, sometimes you're off your square a little bit here, your foundation piece. Just make sure that you're lined up and you're going to stay. It might not be the foundation piece that lines up. It might be off the fabric. Just line up the two edges now. You know your square. And follow your presser foot. And as a matter of fact, I need to put some more painter's tape down. That will help me keep more straight. So I'm just lining that right up to my presser foot. And that, I'll follow that all the way down. That will keep me good and straight. I'm also watching the edge of my presser foot. And then just give it a finger press for now. And so there's 3 pieces that I've got on there. And slide that down. And I'm just going to continue adding on my pieces. So this one you can see I got a little bit of, because your scraps are all over your sewing table when you're doing it, it does happen that you get caught up with another scrap. I'm just going to leave that right there. It's all sewed on anyway. Get that started there so I can hold it and line those 2 edges up. You might want to put your walking foot on here. This is such a hard, my machine does not like a lot of fabric. It just is so fussy. So you might, if you're finding that it's giving you a hard time, you might just want to put a walking foot on and it will glide right through so much easier. I don't have a walking foot on mine right now. I may end up putting one on as I go, but for right now I don't. And just continue for as many squares as you're going to need. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do rows of 7, and I am going to do 7 rows. What I ended up having to do was jump on here to my Juki. It's my Juki TL 2010Q. It is a workhorse, and I feel really bad because I haven't used it for so long. I keep using my Janome, but my Janome just can't handle it. There's just way too many seams. It's not liking it. My Janome is very, very, she doesn't like a lot of seams. I can say that. And I do a lot of scrap quilts, so there's usually a lot of seams. So as I'm connecting all of this stuff, it's really bulky in here. I mean, super bulky. You know, you get layers and layers of scraps connecting here. So that's okay. I jumped on my Januki. She needed some oil. I needed to just get her, you know, regrouped. I'm still going to use my vintage thread in her. I thought I wouldn't. I thought I'd start just jumping onto my Aurifil since I've ran out of white vintage. I believe I've ran out of white vintage. I could go look in my long arm room. I have a lot of thread down there, but I think I'm out of white. So for now, let's just say I'm out of the white vintage. I'm just going to go with a couple of multicolors here. It doesn't matter what I'm using because I'm still just piecing everything together. I'll save that Aurifil. I have been putting out so many quilts lately that, you know, I might use up my old vintage thread. Who knows? Besides what I've got for decorations and what's in my box now, it's really getting down there. So I'm kind of happy about that. It just, I would be totally happy if I used it all up and had to just keep buying my Aurifil. And I have no problem with that because I just love Aurifil thread anyway. So for now, I've just got two different colors in here because, again, I am out of the white. And I just work with those. So far, I've done a couple of pieces here. It's just busting right through it. I did put my walking foot on because I thought that it's just so, there's so much fabric in here. And I will tell you, I have gone through a lot of thread on this project. No problem. I mean, I'm used to scrap projects, so I'm used to that, but it does take a lot of thread if you're a beginner sewer. And one thing I want to tell you is don't be afraid when you turn your work over, if you're a mess back here, don't worry about it. Like some of these I ended up squaring up from the front because I just liked how it looked, or for whatever reason. Sometimes I do some fancy stitching, so that's pulling in some more on the back. So sometimes it just won't be even. And that's okay. When I squared them up, I know these are nice and square. They just aren't square exactly perfect to my foundation piece. So if you find that yours looks kind of like a mess, for instance here, this is the back and it looks like I cut off that corner of the foundation piece when I was cutting. So I'm okay with that still. You'll never notice this in this scrappy quilt. You just won't. I'm still undecided if I want to go 70 or 80. My favorite quilt's like an 80 by 90. That's my absolute favorite. Even an 80 by 80. I just like it. Or an 80 by 85. So I may do that with this one. I just hate to make it too small. So I may have to make some more blocks when I get through here, but that's okay. So I'm going to put this one together. Again, I'm just sewing my rows here. Making sure, this is so important, just make sure you're lined up. These little pieces are not secured down, so if they get folded under, you've got to go pick out those stitches and get it to come back so they can match up here. So just continue doing that. I'm still at my 1/4 inch. I've got my painter's tape over here too, and this one just goes, oh, so much better. I'm kind of sad that my Janome, she works so nicely. She gives me so much happiness, but not with a lot of seams. Well, that's okay. She's good for other things. So I'm starting off with putting rows of 7. Remember, my blocks are 10 inches, and I'm starting out with rows of 7. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to press this, and I'm going to use steam, and I'm just going to go one whole row to the right, one whole, the next row will be to the left. I'm going to alternate that with rows so I can nest the seams. They're kind of thick, so they're having a hard time to lay down flat. Just do the best you can. Now I'm going to put the strips together. That's just putting the right sides together. And I want to make sure the same exact thing. I want to be sure that my top piece here is not folded in. And I'm going to match that up. I am not using pins for this at all. I'm still going to use my walking foot. That's going to help so much. These seams did not lay well because there's so much bulk there. So you're just going to have to, they're not going to nest well at all. So I'll show you what we'll do. I'm going to use my walking foot still, and I'm just going to keep realigning. Staying right at my 1/4 of an inch. When I get to the seam, I've got one, this bottom one is going this way towards me. This top one is going that way. I am going to just push those together the best I can. Hold it with my finger and go. I'm not too worried about it. You're really not going to see it because it's such a busy quilt. Just get it to the best that you can. Nest them as well as you can. Hold my finger there. And I'll get a little ways further and then I'll just show you. They're lining up fine. Just nest them the best you can and keep going. Really, you just want to be sure you just keep adjusting. You just need to spin a few bobbins. Now I'm just going to use that green vintage thread. And I'm going to spin up a few. Or a couple. Maybe not a few. This project definitely goes through a lot of thread. There's a lot of piece in here. That one's gone too. I have gone through so many of these old vintage threads. I'm so happy about that. All right. Well, I got one back. This one's going to go on next. It's just the old gray I have. I have lots of those. Got those somewhere along the line. All right. While I'm at it, I'm just going to take a paintbrush here and wipe out my machine a little bit before I put the new bobbin in. I try to do that pretty often. I did oil it too before I started, just because I hadn't used it in a while. All right, we'll call that good. So my kitty cats have taken my 2 brushes. It's so adorable. Every single night they take my sewing brushes that I clean my machines with. Every night I can tuck them really deep into my sewing area here, and they still get them, and they're on the floor. They play with them in the nighttime. It's so cute when you get up and see those little paint brushes, those little cleaning brushes. It's so funny. So of course they're not right here beside me, so I'll just use this skinny old paintbrush. That works. All right, back at it. Whoops. My bobbin's there. I'm going to show you here. All right. Now, I'm not going to press right now, but I'm going to come in and iron this after. I'll press all those seams opened. Oh, It feels so good. It's my favorite types of quilts are anything that's scrappy like this and it's just so heavy. And then by the time I put the bat in and the backing on, it's going to be a really super heavy quilt. And then I'll wash it and it's going to be so snuggly. So, all right, I'm just going to keep adding rows. Now just continue until you have all of your rows added. Just do row after row until it's the size you want. Now just go ahead and press the whole thing nice and flat. This quilt was so much fun to make. I just absolutely love it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Remember to keep it simple. Have a nice day. Thanks for watching. Bye.